Hi, class. It's Dr. St. Clair. Listen, I'm going to run through this. There's a lot of slides, I think 44 in total. So you can watch it in segments, or I'll post a slide without any talking. It's not a lecture. Uh, so you have both, okay? Again, some people want the lecture, some folks just want the PowerPoints with the notes. So I'll include those as well. Uh, that way you can go back and reflect. Uh, they'll help with obviously the quizzes and just retaining things. So this will be long. I'll try to make it as short as possible. Obviously, I like compressing things, but at the same time, we have a lot of ground to cover, and there's just no way around it. Even though we've got 8 weeks, it's just a ton of material. So I'm going to jump right in. So again, chapter 1: marketing, creating customer value and engagement. So our learning objectives this week, which we'll have in all the modules and obviously with each chapter, and I encourage you to read the chapters we don't cover. We just don't have enough time to cover everything, and I think it should be, the old saying, drinking out of a fire hose. We're already going to be drinking out of a fire hose, and I'm trying to make it so we can really take time to be drinking out of a garden hose each week in some respects. And so I think it's important that you read it and digest it. But the learning objectives this week are: we're going to define what marketing is, right? Obviously, most of us think of marketing as the 4 P's, and we'll talk about those, obviously. But we'll talk about that and the steps in the marketing process. We'll understand the importance of the marketplace and really identify the 5 core marketplace concepts. We'll identify the key elements of customer value driven marketing strategy and really how that orientates to guide the overall marketing strategy. And we'll discuss the customer relationship management and focus on identifying. Really, it's about creating that value for the customer. And how do we, once we create it, we need to make sure we can capture it. And we'll talk about major trends and forces that are really changing. And so that's why this new book is a little, maybe the contemporary book is a little more important in some respects. But the other books have touch upon what we need to touch upon as well. So again, we'll be okay either way. So think about Amazon. I think we're all familiar with Amazon. But Amazon was founded, right? It's more than just, it started as this, and I think most of you know, but if you don't know the story of Amazon, it started as really a guy in a garage, whatever, right? Going to sell some books. Bezos going to sell some books online. And now it's the nation's second largest retailer. It's only trailing Walmart. And at its current growth rate, it probably will overtake. Now its trajectory, excuse me. Probably 6 years it'll overtake Walmart. So it's got amazing passion from its customer, and it creates that value, right? I typically just go to Amazon. So think about Amazon and that relationship you have. Most of us have this, well, I'll just get it on Amazon. And there's this, it's embedded in our lives. And so Amazon's deep down passion for creating customer value, its engagement. Think about how engaging it is. It's almost not intrusive, but if you think about it, it's if you think about Alexa and how many points it touches our lives. So I just want you to spend some time and reflect on that. So it really is a model about how companies are obsessive and successfully focusing on delivering customer value, but capturing that value as well. So think about the huge selection of benefits that you get when you engage with Amazon. Think about the simplicity of doing business with Amazon. So there's a lot behind that, and I don't want it to be overlooked. There's so much convenience, especially when you have everything at your fingertips, and basically you can buy almost anything on Amazon. So they really create that value and really meet your needs. So think about the logistics and the ability to meet those. So let's move on, but I want you to think about creating genuine value through the eyes of the customer. So since we've all spent time with Amazon, I think it's important that you think about, how do you feel when you think about Amazon? So again, we talked a little about learning objective 1, defining that marketing and what marketing is, and then we'll outline these steps. So this definition's important. I'm assuming everyone's familiar with marketing because it's all around us all the time. It's so if we start to think about it, we're all aware of a company, whether it's local or national, that creates superior value. Right? It continues to grow profitably. It continues to create value for customers. So when we think about marketing, we think about this set of strategies, and we'll talk about them in subsequent slides. But it's these strategies and activities to acquire and engage customers. We want to build these strong customer relationships and then create superior value. Think about, we just talked about Amazon. Think about your relationship with maybe it's Costco, or maybe it's, some people think it's Chick-fil-A, or maybe it's Ford, or whatever car you're in love with. So, but there's something that you recognize and you understand that they're very good at engaging the customer, creating superior value, and capturing said value. But today's customers and today's marketers, using multiple platforms, they reach directly, personally, interactively. Think about Nike using all kinds of technology to touch the customer. So a lot of different ways and tools to utilize to create that engagement and to build that strong bond, right? It's all about that stickiness. Harley Davidson is another. So think about that rich experience that you get from some of these companies. So if you think about, there's a lot of traditional forms, but there's a lot of new forms, and we're going to continue to see those evolve, right? Obviously, we're all familiar with social media, but that continues to evolve in how marketers utilize those vehicles to engage customers, to touch customers, to create value and capture value. So between websites and the various social media tools it's really changing. So think about that a bit. So this is a really important figure. It shows marketing kind of in a nutshell, right? I'm always saying marketing, if you think about it, is creating value for customers, right? I want to change your life. I want to, if I'm a good marketer, I'm going to leave you better off. I always tell my salespeople that. Obviously, that's a piece of the 4 P's of marketing, but um, promotion. But I want you to think about marketing is fundamentally about creating value for the customer. So let's look at this, right? We want to understand the marketplace. And then design a customer value driven marketing strategy. Construct an integrated marketing mix, and we'll talk more about this, that delivers this value. And engage customers. Build profitable relationships and create customer. Right? We could have a lot of engagement with customers, but if it's not a profitable engagement, it's not good for the customer and it's not good for us because it can't be sustainable. So that profitable piece is extremely important. And that sounds like, really, Professor? But I can't tell you how many times that we find either the customer and or the supplier struggles with that piece. Either the customer doesn't want to pay, or the supplier doesn't charge enough or charges too much. And somehow we have to figure out, how do we make it profitable, but one in which the customer wants to pay for said value, right? So it's important you understand that. What value and what is the customer willing to pay for that value? So how do we capture, right? Really important, that last piece, capturing that value from customers in return. So super important. So if we, by creating this value for customers, marketers capture value from customers in return, right? So think about this 5-step, and I think if you keep this in the back of your mind as we go through the chapter, we're all going to be better off. So let's move on. But really an important figure. So learning objective 2. 5 core marketplace concepts. So this slide's, I keep saying they're all important, but this is pretty important as well, right? So if we think about needs, wants, and demands, so needs are this state of felt deprivation. So if we think about needs are physical, food, clothing, warmth, safety, and then there's social needs. So we got this physical and social piece. Belonging, affection, knowledge, self-expression. And then wants are these, wants are these human needs that are really shaped by culture. It's really by your society that you belong to. So you think about it, it can be shaped by the family you belong to, the church you go to, those types of things, right? And so you kind of have I like to think about it like this micro macro tension that starts to shape your worldview. And then if you think about having buying power, that really backs your demands. And so we saw Starbucks CEO really take this to heart. They get into stores, roll up his sleeves, and really try to understand what's important to customers. What are those needs? What are those wants? In this digital age, right? What it means to be human. So that's why they're really successful, because they truly understand what's important to their customers. So I want you to think about, as you reflect through this, what's a product, good or service, that you purchased recently? And how did that product or service satisfy that need, want, or demand? So think about that. Market offerings include other entities such as persons, places, organizations, information, and ideas. As we go down the second bullet, we see marketing myopia. Many sellers suffer from this, the mistake of paying more attention to the specific products that they offer than to the benefits or the experience that these products produce. So they just forget that about the product is really this tool to solve a customer's problem. And so they sort of get this blindness. They see sellers will have trouble if a new product comes along that serves the customer's needs better or less expensively. The customer will have the same need but will want the new product, right? So we think about marketing ideas and causes. Over here on the right, we've got the Ad Council's Texting and Driving Prevention campaign addresses this disconnect between awareness and behaviors by reminding drivers from 16 to 34 that no one is special enough to message while driving. So this immersion experience. So here's an example of really creating an opportunity where customers can really sort of live the experience, right? They get immersed in that cultural experience of the locals, and also being right with nature, right with the wildlife, the rare wildlife. So it's a combination of this natural surroundings, unsurpassed accommodations with service and adventure in this national reserve. So we think about customers face a broad array of products and services that might satisfy a given need. Customers form expectations about the value and satisfaction that various market offerings will deliver. Satisfied customers buy again and tell others about their good experiences. So it's so important to create satisfied customers. But on the opposite side, we have dissatisfied customers switch to competitors and criticize the product to others. Now, that's not always true. I think there's three, right? There's exit, voice, and loyalty, right? So some customers just exit, don't say a thing. Others voice and they stay with you. And then others um, they voice and switch to competitors, and then the others are loyal no matter what. You find that with well, I should say no matter what, but typically they're very loyal. Marketers should set the right level expectations. And that's really important to manage expectations, because if you have super high expectations and the customer does, and you don't hit that every time, it's always going to be disappointing to them, even if you're crushing it, because their expectations don't meet what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're creating an environment where you can meet the customer's expectations, and so you can sort of dial those expectations or align them with what you're doing. And I know that sounds like, oh, really? No, of course we want to do that. It's very difficult to do, but very important that you do it. So if their expectations are too low, think about that. You may not attract the right buyers. If they're too high, you'll disappoint. And I see this all the time. So it's really important that you can align them and set them properly. Customer value and customer satisfaction are key building blocks to building and managing customer relationships, right? Super important. A market is a set of actual, right? So they're your buyers, and then they're the potential buyers. Sellers must search for buyers, interact with companies to obtain information. So I identify their needs. I design goods. I design good market offerings, set prices for them, promote them, and store them and deliver them. A market is a set of actual and potential buyers of a product or service. So take a few moments and just go through this, right? Look at from suppliers, company, competitors, and then over to the right, we've got marketing intermediaries, and then to the final consumers. And then down on this axis, we have major environmental forces. So let's think about that as it's a great framework, thinking about a modern marketing system. So a market is just a set of actual potential buyers of a product or service, right? So very generic in that sense. These buyers share a particular need or want. So we just talked about that. And they can be satisfied through exchange of relationships. So each party in this system adds value for the next level and is affected by a major environmental forces. So think about demographic, economic, natural, technology, political, social, cultural. So we talked a little about marketing, right? Marketing means managing marketing or markets, to bring about profitable customer relationships. So we do consumer research, development, communication, distribution, pricing. These are all core marketing activities. But buyers also carry out marketing. So we talk about marketers have to ask that question: how can we influence our customers? But in addition, we have to ask, how can our customers influence us? And even, how can our customers influence each other? So, and that's so important with the new technology, right? So that's always been a piece of it, but it's so prevalent now because it's so easy for customers to communicate, right? That information piece, the center of gravity is really shifted to the consumer in many respects. So I don't want to spend too much time. We'll talk more about this, but it's a very important figure, and obviously you can read about it in the chapter and spend more time on it. So we're learning objective 3, identifying these key elements of the customer value driven marketing strategy. And we talked about that orientation and what does it look like to guide our marketing strategy. So marketing management, so it's both an art and a science, right? So it's never just 100% data driven, right? Both qualitative and quantitative. There's sort of an art to it as well, to really sort of understanding, and that comes with experience and other factors, along with the data, to help really understand what is your target market and building those profitable relationships, which we'll talk more about. Because we really need to fully understand who is our customer. What does that consumer marketplace truly look like? If we don't know who we're going to serve, how are we going to know what to serve? How are we going to understand the value which we're going to bring the marketplace, right? And so we have to understand the customer in order to understand needs, etc. And that's often overlooked. We typically say, oh, we've got value, and then we try to find a customer. So what customers will we serve? What's our target market? Truly need to identify that. Is it large enough? Right? Sometimes and I've seen this often at work, is we'll identify a need, but the market's not big enough. And so you really have to say, okay, now we've identified a market. Is it large enough? Does it sustain a profitable business case? How can we serve these customers best, assuming that we've identified an attractive target market? So we think about how can we best serve these customers. So think about value proposition, and we'll talk a lot about that value proposition as we go. I can tell you that there's a lot of people that work for companies and they don't know what their value proposition is. So take a moment and think about, do you know your company's value proposition? Like, what truly is your value proposition? It needs to be short, succinct, and really identify what's your differentiator. Why are you different? And why would a customer choose you over others and find that you satisfy needs? In a nutshell, worth choosing you and spending value on you versus others. So here's the value proposition. So once we decide how one will serve a targeted consumer, we really have to differentiate our position, right? If we're the same, then it's all about price. And I guess price can be a major differentiator, but that's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one. And one you can pursue, but it's often one that's not sustainable. Again, others have done it, but you need to decide, what is my value? So, for example, when we talk about a brand's value, it's a set of benefits or value that it promises to deliver to satisfy, right? I'm going to make your life better in some way. How am I going to improve the lives of others? So I have to think about that when I design a value proposition. And if I'm not doing that, either I don't have the product or service I think I do, or I'm not targeting the right customers, right? Do they really have these wants or needs? So I have to make sure that I understand folks' wants or needs in order to design my value proposition as well. So think about JetBlue, award-winning service from award-winningly nice humans. Just all right doesn't fly here. So we talk about, certain airlines, or we talked about Starbucks or Amazon or others, but their commitment to delivering exceptional value to specific customers, right? Amazon's case, it's a very large audience, a very large consumer target market. Others, it could be smaller, but again, it's all about your target and are you delivering and capturing said value. So figure 1.3, again, we're still delivering value here. It contrasts the selling concept and the marketing concept. So when we think about the selling concept, it takes an inside-out perspective. It starts with the factory, focuses on the company's existing products, and calls for heavy selling and promotion to obtain these profitable sales. It focused primarily on customer conquest, getting short-term sales with little concern about who buys or why. And then in contrast, you've got the marketing concept. The marketing concept takes an outside-in perspective. The colorful founder of Southwest Airlines, and Southwest is starting to really struggle a bit, but it's often been this exemplar used, and it's still, I think, fundamentally a solid organization, but we don't have a marketing department, we have a customer department. So the marketing concept, if we think about that in figure 1.3, starts with a well-defined market. Then we focus on the customer's needs, right, and integrate them with all those marketing activities to affect that desired outcome. So we want to yield those sticky relationships with the right customers, and you have to define what that right customer looks like. But it's based on that value that we're delivering to the customer. So go through this chart. I'm not going to spend any more time on it, but it's worth noting, worth understanding. So now we talk about market orientations. There are 5 alternate concepts under which organizations design and carry out their marketing strategy. The production concept, the product concept, the selling concept, and the marketing concept, and societal marketing concepts. So we think about marketing management wants to design strategies that will build profitable relationships, and you're going to hear that over and over again, with target consumers. So let's break these down. Production concept, consumers will favor products that are available and highly affordable. So this is a concept that is still useful philosophy in some situations. So let's think about an example. In highly competitive, price sensitive, like in the Chinese market, both personal computer maker Lenovo and home appliance maker Haier, I think it's Haier, I always pronounce it wrong, dominate through low labor costs, high production efficiencies, and mass distribution. But this can also, and again, this is important in some markets. In some markets, you have to be this, choose this concept. But you can be myopic. You lose what's really important to customers' needs and building those relationships. The product concept favors products that offer quality, performance, and features. So this is about like continuous product improvement. You're continuing improving quality and other parts of that product to deliver those value to the consumer. But this can also lead to market myopia, because the manufacturer or the supplier can start to think, if I keep continuing to build a better mousetrap, they'll beat a path to my door to get my product, right? And so what happens is you realize that, hey, my customers' needs have changed and I didn't even realize it, right? There was a disruption in technology or disruption of some sort in the marketplace, and I was too busy focusing on building value into my product and missed all their needs. The selling concept, it will not be enough of the firm's products unless the firm undertakes a large-scale selling and promotion effort. So we think about the selling concept is typically practiced with unsought goods, right? So you got to push these. Those that buyers do not normally think of buying, such as life insurance, blood donations, and other types of donations, right? These industries must be good at tracking down prospects and selling them on a product's benefits. It's a tough sell in many cases. So it carries a high risk. It focuses on creating sales transactions rather than building long-term profitable customer relationships. And then we have marketing concept. So you really want to understand with this, you want to understand you want to know and understand the needs and the wants of the target markets and deliver these better than your competitors. I often find, for example, in my work, we make pneumatic devices, and we have a lot of competitors, but at the end of the day, we're probably our worst competitor because we're our worst enemy. And so if we get things right, I often find we don't really have competitors in the marketplace. We can deliver value differently than anyone else if we can do what we need to do. So I often say to folks, and again, it's not out of ignorance, it's out of, we need to do our work first. In other words, if we can do what we've promised to deliver, we typically deliver or get that value delivered, right? So the job is not to find the right customers for your product, but to find the right products for your customers. And then we move on to societal marketing concept. Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream does it. It's a good example. Does more than just make good ice cream. So if we think about Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream, it makes ice cream created in fellowship with growers, makers, and producers from around the world, all for the love of you. So you think about this societal piece that is embedded into Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream. And we see it more and more with sustainability or the circular economy. There's a lot going into that today. So we'll talk a little bit more about societal marketing. It's important, but I'm going to quickly cover this because, again, we have so many slides to cover. And we're already probably about 40 minutes into this. So the societal marketing concept questions whether the pure marketing concept overlooks possible conflicts between the consumer's short run wants and the consumer's long run welfare. So think about a firm that satisfies the immediate needs, wants of a target market, and whether or not it's doing what's best for the consumer in the long run. So we talk a lot about Patagonia, right? It looks about long-term needs as it manufactures. So it wants to deliver value today, but it wants to deliver value tomorrow too. So we think about the circular economy. If I'm making something today, I need to be responsible for those. Maybe the material I'm manufacturing to house the goods or services that I'm delivering. So I need to be responsible for that stuff, environmentally and otherwise. So let's talk about that quickly in Figure 1.4. So 1.4 talks about these society, human welfare. When we talk about, you think about many leading businesses are really questioning, and marketing thinkers, shared value, because they recognize that society needs, not just economic needs, define markets. And so when you think about it that way, you've got to think about company profits, company wants, and society's interests. So we know about global warming, and this isn't a debate about global warming. Doesn't matter what you think about it, it's now important to most people to at least think about when they're buying something, am I not contributing to it, right? Or am I decreasing? So what role does it play in global warming? When we make a car purchase, we now have all of these EVs, and that's, think about how we're marketing and positioning that. So it has a lot of ties to society, excuse me. So it's really important to note. So think about doing good can benefit both the community and the company. And we see a lot about that, people over profits. But profits, when you do people over profits, it also typically rewards the companies. And so you see Costco do it and others as well.